Hello and welcome to BYJU'S IAS. Let's take up the daily quiz for today. The first question: what are S&P, Moody's and Fitch, which are often seen in news and referred to as the Big Three? Are they multinational private banks or legal consulting firms or credit rating agencies or multilateral lending institutions? The correct answer is option C. S&P or Standard & Poor, Moody's and Fitch. They are three popular credit rating agencies that are often referred to as the Big Three. These credit rating agencies assess the ability of a borrower to repay their debt and the likelihood of the borrower defaulting on their payments. They carry out this assessment by providing a credit rating, and they rate government sovereign debt, corporate debt, etc. This question was taken up because according to this article in the Hindu, Moody's has estimated that India's growth projection might fall to 9.3% from the earlier estimate of 13.7% as a result of the second wave of the COVID-19 pandemic. Let's look at the second question. Which of the following statements are correct? Cyclonic activity is comparatively less intense in the Arabian Sea as compared to the Bay of Bengal. Arabian Sea cyclones are also relatively weak compared to those emerging in the Bay of Bengal. But the number of cyclones that form in the Arabian Sea in a year are roughly the same as the number of cyclones that form in the Bay of Bengal. Amongst the given statements, the third statement is incorrect, so option B is the right answer. See, cyclonic activity in the Arabian Sea is comparatively less intense than in the Bay of Bengal, and these cyclones are even relatively weaker as compared to the ones that form in the Bay of Bengal. But however, the number of cyclones that form in the Arabian Sea and the Bay of Bengal is not roughly the same, because clearly the Bay of Bengal witnesses more number of cyclones in a given year as compared to the Arabian Sea. There are several factors which makes the Bay of Bengal more prone to cyclones, and this includes the presence of several ideal conditions that are needed for the formation of intense cyclones. Cyclones, which are essentially a low pressure system, they require a continuous supply of heat energy in the form of moisture through the process of continuous evaporation, and this is readily available in the Bay of Bengal as it tends to be warmer than the Arabian Sea. So this temperature difference between the Bay of Bengal and the Arabian Sea happens to play a key role in the formation of more number of cyclones in the Bay of Bengal and in the formation of more intense cyclones in the Bay of Bengal. The sea surface temperature and the humidity, they both directly correlate with the chances of cyclone formation. And since the Bay of Bengal receives a higher amount of rainfall, and since it also receives a constant inflow of fresh water from the Ganga, Brahmaputra and the other rivers, the surface water in the Bay of Bengal keeps getting continuously refreshed, which makes it nearly impossible for the warm water on the surface to mix with the cooler water below. So this creates an ideal condition for depression, around which a low pressure system gets formed. On the other hand, in the Arabian Sea, there are stronger winds which dissipates the heat at the surface level, and also there is a lack of fresh water supply, and this allows the warm water at the top to mix with the cool water below, thereby reducing the surface temperature. Then upon this, the unique shape of Bay of Bengal and the absence of any large land mass between the Pacific and the Bay of Bengal allows the cyclonic winds from the Pacific Ocean and the South China Sea to easily move into the bay. And even the low pressure systems that originate in the Pacific, they can move into the Bay of Bengal, thereby creating more number of cyclones and higher intensity cyclones. This question has been taken up because according to this article in the Hindu, the Indian Meteorological Department has forecasted that this year's first cyclonic storm in the Arabian Sea is likely to be witnessed this week. Let's look at the third question. Which of the following statements are correct? Central Adoption Resource Authority or CARA is an autonomous and statutory body mandated to monitor and regulate in-country and inter-country adoptions. CARA is responsible for granting a NOC or a no objection certificate for all inter-country adoptions pursuant to India becoming a signatory to the 1993 Hague Convention on Protection of Children and Cooperation in respect of inter-country adoptions. India is also a signatory to the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child. All the three statements are correct. Option D is the right answer. This question was taken up because we have a column in the Hindu which explains the process of adopting a child in India, and it makes a reference to the Juvenile Justice Act, under which the Central Adoption Resource Authority or CARA has been set up as a statutory body and an autonomous body under the Ministry of Women and Child Development. This authority is the nodal agency that is responsible for monitoring and regulating all in-country and inter-country adoptions, and it is also mandated to issue an NOC for all inter-country adoptions in line with the provisions of the Hague Convention of 1993 that deals with inter-country adoptions. The Hague Convention, to which India is a signatory, facilitates inter-country adoptions, and it also tries to clamp down on child trafficking and child laundering. This convention basically tries to set a legal standard for preventing the misuse and abuse of children through the process of adoption, and India is obligated under these provisions as it ratified the convention in 2003. Then upon this, India is also a signatory to the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child, which guarantees a set of basic rights to children. And in line with these provisions, CARA facilitates adoption, and for this purpose, it has even set up a platform known as CARINGS, which stands for Child Adoption Resource Information and Guidance System. Let's look at the fourth question. Which of the following are located to the west and east of Strait of Hormuz, respectively? Persian Gulf and Gulf of Oman, Arabian Sea and Iran, Saudi Arabia and Kuwait, Iran and Qatar. The correct answer is option A, the Persian Gulf and the Gulf of Oman. See, the Strait of Hormuz is a strategic choke point located in West Asia, and it is a vital sea lane of communication as a large part of the global oil trade passes through this strait. This strategic strait is located between the Persian Gulf and the Gulf of Oman, and option A is the only one which satisfies the given question. This question was taken up because we have an article in the Hindu that makes a reference to the Strait of Hormuz in relation to the ongoing tensions between Iran and US near the Persian Gulf. Let's look at the fifth question. Which of the following countries are members of the OIC, or the Organization of Islamic Cooperation? Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, India, Turkey. The correct answer would be option C, 1, 2 and 4 only. Amongst the given options, India is not a member of the OIC, whereas Saudi Arabia, Pakistan and Turkey, they are members of the OIC. To answer this question, you should know the membership criteria for this organization. See, this organization was set up in 1969 and it consists of 57 member states, and its main objective is to collectively protect the rights of the Muslim world and to promote global peace and harmony. Any country which has a significant Muslim population can aspire to become a member of the OIC, and hence Muslim majority nations such as Turkey, Pakistan, Saudi Arabia and the others have become members to this organization. But interestingly, India, even though it has one of the world's largest Muslim populations, it has not been admitted to the grouping, largely because of the hurdles that have been created by Pakistan. Pakistan has consistently prevented India's membership to this grouping because Pakistan uses this platform to target India on the internal issues of India, such as Jammu and Kashmir, Article 370, communal riots in India, etc. This question has been taken up because according to this article in the Hindu, Saudi Arabia has announced a huge financial aid for Pakistan, which is currently facing a financial crisis. And along with the announcement of this aid, the two countries have discussed the developments in the Islamic world and the situation of Muslims in non-OIC countries, and as well as the ongoing initiatives of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation. Now let's take up a practice question from the 2016 prelims paper. Consider the following statements. The India-Africa Summit held in 2015 was the third such summit. It was actually initiated by Jawaharlal Nehru in 1951. Amongst the given statements, the second statement is incorrect, so option A is the right answer. See, the India-Africa Forum Summit is a key diplomatic initiative of India to reach out to the African countries, especially the members of the African Union. And the first such summit was held in 2008. This was followed up with a second summit in 2011, and a third summit was held in 2015. So this clearly makes the first statement correct and the second statement incorrect. So option A is the right answer. Now coming to the fact of the day, let's talk about the G7 grouping, which finds a mention in this article in the Hindu following the cancellation of Prime Minister Modi's upcoming visit to the G7 summit which was supposed to be held next month in the United Kingdom. Considering the massive domestic crisis in India created as a result of the second wave of the pandemic, Prime Minister Modi has decided to not participate in the upcoming G7 summit. And hence, as a result of this development, let's understand a few facts about the G7. See, the G7 is an intergovernmental organization that consists of 7 developed countries, which includes Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, United Kingdom, and the United States. These 7 countries meet annually at the G7 summit, which also witnesses participation from the representatives of the European Union. The concept of this forum emerged during the 1973 oil crisis, and it began taking shape from 1975 onwards. It's essentially a grouping of the world's major industrialized countries, which also happen to be the largest IMF advanced economies in the world. These 7 countries represent 58% of the global net wealth, and collectively they account for more than 46% of the global GDP in nominal terms. These countries interact annually during the G7 summit, which involves participation from the heads of government and head of states, including their respective finance ministers, where they discuss key global economic issues. And it has become a platform for discussing the emerging financial issues of the day. During the 1997 summit, Russia was formally invited to join the grouping, and in 1998, Russia formally joined G7, and hence the grouping became the Group of 8 or the G8. But however, in 2014, after Russia annexed Crimea, and as tensions between Russia and the Western countries started to rise, Russia was thrown out of the grouping and the G8 returned back to being the G7. But under President Donald Trump, attempts were made by the US to invite Russia back into the grouping, but these efforts haven't succeeded entirely, and hence the grouping continues to meet as the G7. But however, of late, these countries have invited India, Australia, and South Korea to participate during the summit. And since 2005, India has participated in the G7 summit quite a few times. So for the upcoming G7 summit in the United Kingdom, India had been again invited, but unfortunately the Prime Minister had to cancel the visit as a result of the COVID crisis in India. So with this, let's conclude our discussion for today. Thanks for watching.